I did that 7 times, knowing I was doing something bad. 8th time I got caught. They pulled out these Congo drums out of my car, and inside the Congo drums ultimately ended up being 6.2 kilos of heroin. And now I'm serving a 12-year sentence overseas in a French prison. So when I was 4 years old, my parents were separating, and my mom made me choose which parent I wanted to go with. And my soul was crushed. Nobody said, "You're special, you're important, you matter." I never heard those words. Lots of people that are successful, but everybody else around them is broke. But something was happening with me where I was leading people and the people around me were making money.
All right, welcome. This is Peter Voogd, founder of the prestigious Game Changers Academy. And thank you guys for tuning into our monthly millionaire video series where we interview the world's most elite and successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, entertainers, and true game changers, and people that I have respect for, and those people who are really making a massive difference, not just in their industries, but in the world. It's been very interesting and inspiring studying this rags to riches story. It's been pretty wild. I'm excited to dive in, and I think you guys will all come away with a massively better mindset because he's gone through a lot of pain and struggle and turned that into purpose and a life of meaning. He's an internationally renowned motivational speaker and life coach. He's been inspiring and motivating audiences for more than 2 decades. He's passionate about helping people live their best lives and reach their full potential. And he has a unique ability to connect with people on a personal level and help them discover their inner strength and courage. His message of hope and optimism has touched millions of lives and continues to inspire and motivate people all over the world. He's the author of the best-selling book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. Garrain Jones, it's an honor. Welcome to the show, my man.
Peter, I love that introduction. And oftentimes when people are making an introduction, I try to put myself in the shoes of the listener. And I say, you did an excellent job. So thank you so much for having a platform for stories like mine to have wings.
I appreciate it, man. And this is a really dynamic group. And this, we're going to continue to take cool stuff out of this interview and share it. So I'm excited to dive in. I wanted to start with this because I like, based on what's happening right now in the economy and all the fear involved and people being a little bit nervous about the recession, I wanted to, and you're such a face of hope and optimism and creating a life on your terms. What's been weighing heavy on your mind lately? Has there anything that's been weighing heavier than normal the past couple weeks or couple months that you want to kind of start with? Then we'll dive into your story.
Well, it's definitely not the recession because it was almost like my whole life was a recession. So when people are like, "Man, the recession," they're like, and I'm like, "What recession?" That was literally my whole life. So it's like I have this spiritual callus to be able to overcome whatever's thrown my way. I'd say the most difficult thing is, I'm 43 years young and I have a daughter who's 21, but I also have a daughter who's 16 months old named Baby Soul. So fathering the next generation of women in this society and really making sure that I have the level of emotional intelligence and I'm developed enough to have conscious conversations, even with a 16-month-old, to prepare her in a way where at least she has a fair shot in life. It's not easy. And a lot of times parents get swallowed in society and you just tend to do what your parents do. And I was like, man, well, I learned all the things that I don't want to do that my parents did. And I appreciate that. And I needed to learn some new skills, get some mentors, invest tons, over hundreds and thousands of dollars in next level perspectives and wealth and mentorship so that I could be the kind of person that has an emotionally intelligent home with my emotionally intelligent wife and business, so that Baby Soul, she understands the principles of life in the way that little kids can understand and knows that it's not going to be easy. So giving her things that challenge her while she's in a multi-million-dollar house, that we're not going to just give her everything and give her the world. We're going to teach her how to have the things that we had, but that's not easy. It's very difficult, but I signed up for it all.
And then, thank you for sharing. And then mixing that and harmonizing, growing a successful 7, 8, 9-figure business.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. And I have a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So it's definitely, I'm in the same boat in terms of really figuring out the best way to raise our kids in this crazy economy. And I love that you shared that first, because that's obviously your priority. You're a family man first. So I love that. I kind of wanted to start, I don't want to say at the very beginning, but a part of me wanted to read.
Once upon a time, there was a bang.
No, a part of me wanted to read everything that you've gone through, but that's half the call.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read everything you've gone through, because there's been so many things. Like, you've been up and down, and finally now you're, the past couple of years, you've been absolutely crushing it. But
Yeah.
I want to go back to right before your teenage years, because a lot of people have studied you, and some who don't know who you are. Before you were even a teenager, you had something tragic happen that most people don't have happen to them as adults. Your dad was killed. And I want to kind of you to share how that shaped your teenage years. Go back to the beginning.
So there's a story that's before that, that I think it's very important for people to hear. So when I was 4 years old, my parents were separating, and my mom made me choose which parent I wanted to go with. So I want y'all, everybody who's listening, think about the weighty decision of that. Typically, parents say, "You're coming with me." But my mom said, "Pick which parent you want to go with. You have 30 minutes to pack your bags." And I remember feeling dread. I remember not wanting to go, not wanting to pack my bags. And I swallowed this yuck of energy. And I made a decision, and I said, I want to go with dad, because my dad was the easier of the parent. And what I now know is my intuition came up inside and said, go with your mom, go with your mom, go with your mom. I told my dad to stop the car, and my dad ended up driving back, and I went with my mom. I had no idea that 8 years later, the same house that I would have lived in was the same house that my father got murdered in. So when my dad's life was taken, I felt like half of my life was taken, but guess who I blamed for his death? Me. And why did I do that? Because I didn't go with my dad. So somewhere in my kid brain psychology, it's my fault that they split up. It's my fault that my father was murdered. And that was up until like 6 years ago.
Wow.
I blamed myself for my father's murder. And maybe I could have made a different kind of decision. But one thing, how it shaped my life was I never had relationships with men. It was like I was always surrounded by women. And until I moved to Austin, and I was subject to different kind of men, like healthy masculine men, it started healing a part of me that felt like it was killed off. One, because I didn't really like how my dad treated women. I didn't like how my brother treated women. So I said, I hate men. And I remember being 4 years old saying that, but then when my dad died, there was just a part of me that died, and I didn't even get a chance to heal that part. So half of my life I lived only operating from a portion of me. So there was no whole Garrain. It was only partial Garrain. And that's how much it affected me, like really going through that traumatizing time.
And then you started going down the wrong path, maybe rebelling or not feeling like you were whole. There was no direction. So fast forward, grade slipping, you switch schools, you get in trouble, you get kind of in, I don't know if it was gang activity, you were stealing, but what were some of those tough times, like from like 13 to like 18, 19?
Well, I stopped caring. It's the cemetery is not where you see the most dead people. It's where you walk around every day and encounter people with something that's died inside of them. And my soul was crushed, and I just didn't care. So I slept with all these women with no remorse. And I mean, not at 13. I didn't start puberty till I was like 18 years old. But this was still part of the same programming. I have a saying that says, adults are deteriorated children unless you learn how to reparent yourself. And I was breaking into cars, breaking into houses, and just whoever I hung out with, I embodied the principles that was swirling around in the language of community. And just going in and out and breaking into houses, cars, going in and out of juvenile, going in and out of jail. And I just stopped caring. Like, what is the point of caring when the closest people closest to me die, and I feel like I'm operating from part of myself? And I didn't know this at the time, and you can't see the picture while you're in the frame, but I always felt like something was missing, and that part of me that was missing was the half of me that I left, or that I felt died off when my dad was murdered.
They say when I'm studying trauma and I'm studying things to make sure I develop my kids, like you talked about, and one of the things that's covered a lot that I'm seeing in this culture is peer orientation, where instead of having someone strong around you, you adapt to the culture that you're a part of. So that really embodied you. You were peer oriented to the max because you didn't have a father figure and you didn't have people that were strong around you.
Yeah, and I love, and I've never heard the word peer orientation, but I know exactly what you talk about.
Yeah.
The way I say it is, every community has a form of language. Like, if you want to learn French, who do you think would learn French faster? The one doing Rosetta Stone once a week for 15 minutes at Starbucks, or the one who goes to the culture and immerses themselves in the culture of France and eats the baguettes and speaks the language? There, because of the frequency and the language in France, the shared energy, flowers that grow together grow much faster than they do by themselves. So the people who took me in, the only people who like really saw me and recognized me and cheered me on, they were the troublemakers. So a lot of times people, they cast out the troublemakers, not even realizing most people are in those communities because that's the only place where they felt seen. Nobody said, "You're special, you're important, you matter, I believe in you, keep going, I never heard those words until I got into, I was never in a gang, but I ran around with gangs and I did the same things that they did. And the reason why they had me around, because I was so fearless, but my fearlessness came from, I just wanted approval. And that was the only place where I knew I could fit in for doing crazy stuff, but it wasn't crazy to me. What was crazy is how bad I wanted to be seen, how bad I wanted self-approval, how bad. And I'm willing to break into a car, do a kick door on the chief of police's house when I'm 16 years old with no fear, just because 15 other guys are going to be like, "Oh my God, Garrain is so fearless." That'll tell you how much kids need encouragement, to be seen, to be asked what's in their heart. What do they care about? Not to be told, "You should do this, you should do that." I heard I should my whole life. Well, how about, "Hey, Garrain, what would you love to do?" I never heard that until somebody said, "Which house would you like to break into?" So that's the only thing I could relate to. Someone actually cares. Someone actually sees me, was in that community. So I stayed in it until I found another community that was speaking a different language.
Very, very relatable, man. And people are already realizing the power of this story. And we're going to fast forward to how he eventually turned this into a mission and a passion of making multi-millions of dollars. So if you guys have gone through this, it's important to understand the story and see where the breakthroughs and the tipping points were. So the first time that things started to change, what happened?
Like you said in the beginning, I could write a book on my life by the time I was 7 years old. So we could do a whole masterclass, something that lasted 72 hours, and we wouldn't even be by the age of 10. But I'll tell you this, when I graduated high school, I didn't really know what I was going to do. There's always an inkling inside of me. I always knew I was supposed to be on TV. I always knew I was going to be on the big stage. I didn't know in what capacity or how. I had no idea. But what I did know is there was something inside of me that was always driven to, I would like say these things and good things would happen. It didn't make sense. Even when I was a little kid, it's like, it'd be two people fighting and then I'd feel this energy inside and then I would just say something and all of a sudden they'd stop fighting. Even if it was gang members, whatever, I was like, man, I don't know what this is. So I would say in 2000 and from 2000 to 2002, I was like the one light-skinned black male model that they hired for everything. So you had Tyson Beckford, you had Boris Kodjoe, and then the guy with the freckles and the twisty hair that was in Tommy Hilfiger, Gap, Old Navy, Destiny's Child, Jumpin' video. Like, I was the guy that was on the rise. I was never taught how to make money. When my mother wouldn't buy me a pair of Jordans when I was a little kid, she was like, whenever you can make your own money, you can buy whatever you want. So in my head, I make money however I make money. So whether it was modeling, whether it was doing the acting stuff, but those checks didn't come till like after 4 or 5 months. So I never had anything that paid me instant money. Well, in the height of my career, this story will go to show how only chasing money will send you right into a living funeral home. I put money over people. And even with my life, the way that it was on the outside, it was looking amazing. I found myself in France dating some girl, and she went out of town, and I met some guys that I knew in Los Angeles. I knew they had something to do with drugs. I never had a sip of alcohol, never did any drugs, but I loved the lifestyle. They had the cars, the girls, the houses. And I'm like, man, I know I'm meant to have that kind of life. So I saw a guy in the club and I was like, man, I know you from LA. I was like, how can I get a life like you? Like, how do I get this life? One thing led to another. And I ended up next day driving a car. And my prompt was to drive this car over this border, over this ferry. They'll pay me 4,000 pounds. At that time, 1 pound was 2.3 US dollars. So I instantly made like $9,000 cash for a 6-hour drive or something like that. I did that route 7 times, knowing I was doing something bad. 8th time I got caught. When I got caught, they pulled out these Congo drums out of my car, and inside the Congo drums ultimately ended up being 6.2 kilos of heroin while I had commercials, while I had magazines, while I was on billboards, and now I'm serving a 12-year sentence overseas in a French prison at the height of my career. And it was right when my first daughter was born. And I'm like, what the actual fuck was I thinking? I wasn't. So this is going to lead into the question, because I didn't want to leave that out. This is going to lead into, how is this promising person in prison for drugs the most non-drug person that you can meet? But he's in magazines, because everybody has some aspect of a dark side. And I put it out there and I ended up getting caught. And that's when I started saying, oh my God, what did I do? How am I here? So I'm serving. I get out in 2.5 years, serving a 12-year sentence. And we can come back to how I got out, because it's some magical shit that you probably want to put in your business and attracting that woman or that man in your life. It's like a formula that I extracted from it. But I got out in 2.5 years, 7 years, couch to couch to couch to girl's house to couch, to the point you're talking about. 2000.
What year was this? So this was like, what was the 2.5 years you served in jail? What years?
2002 to 2005.
Okay. Now, is this the same time? Because I was watching some videos. So you left out a lot of how big you really were. You were in Ludacris videos. You were dating Jordan Sparks, I believe, right? Who was the American Idol winner. You were extremely well known. And
we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Okay. Jeez.
This is when I got out of prison.
Your story's wild. Okay. So you got out of prison. Let's fast forward to 2011. You said something about August 2011, 3:43 in the morning. You had something happen. Let's
Yeah.
go there.
So, as you've heard in this story, my life is up and down and up and down and up. How can you do this when your life was so up? It's like I didn't understand the power of the mind, of the attitude, of ego. I didn't know that can throw pesticides on your dreams. So just as fast as it went up is just as fast as it went down. And I reached a point where I tried to take my life twice. My mom was dying in the hospital. She had 12 back-to-back surgeries, 19 different medications, colostomy bag. My first daughter pretty much disowned me. I was $200,000 in debt, and I was living in my car for 2.5 years. So all of this was happening at the same time. And it was 3:43 in the morning, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to be healthy. I just want to be happy. I just want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. And I just want to inspire people. But I just, whatever I do, like I want to make a difference in people's lives, and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in, that I would do for free. Just show me a sign, show me a sign. And I'm crying, eyes bloodshot red. It's raining outside. Somebody had busted my window open. I'm in the corner of La Brea and Hollywood in my car. And a week later, I'm at the gas station, and a homeless guy comes up to me and asks me for money. And I said, you have more money than me. And the homeless guy says, change your mindset, change your life. And I don't know what it was about those words, because I've heard people say personal development words before, but it was the energy behind the words that created a conscious interrupt. And I'm like, change your mind. So if my mind is set on something, then that's why the result is what it is. So if I do different with the same circumstance, then my life will change. Well, every day since 2011, at that moment, every time I don't feel like doing something, and in an area in my life where I'm not happy, I have trained myself to do the opposite. And an object in motion stays in motion. So imagine you're born looking like your mom and dad, but you'll die looking like your decisions. And most people make the same decisions over and over and over from childhood. I staged myself 13 years outside of that habitual nature of thinking simply by doing the opposite. I don't like gel soap. Change your mindset, change your life. So I'm gonna use bar soap. I don't the escalators. Change your mindset, change your life. So I'm gonna do the stairs. I eat fatty foods. Change your mindset, change your life. So I'm gonna practice eating healthy. I go to nightclubs to chase women every single night. Change the mindset, change your life. I go to libraries and I go to leadership conferences to chase a better version of myself. You see what I'm saying? So it's been 13 years of righting my wrongs, and my life is a direct flip. It's an inverse of who I was. And just as fast as you see the rocket going up was just as fast as you saw the rocket going down 13 years ago. And that's what happened on that day. It gave me an opportunity to see what was really inside, not what my skin color says or the president says I should do, or the government or my family or my religion or anything like that. No, there was a suppressed voice that never said what he actually wanted. And that's the one that was screaming that night. And because I listened, now I have the life that has surpassed my wildest dreams times 10.
So that's super powerful, man. So fast forward, is that when you kind of realized your gift, or not your gift, your passion was singing? Is that when you got into singing and got that record deal, or was that right?
The record deal came after I got out of prison.
Okay.
From the songs that I wrote while I was in prison. And I remember I was hanging out with my brother, and he said, you want to be a singer, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, don't come home unless you have a song, because I was staying at his house. And I'm like, but I don't know a producer. He's like, I'll give you rides, I'll give you clothes, I'll give you food, a place to stay, free. Don't come home unless you have a song. 30 days, I had 28 songs because all I wanted to do was sleep. And every producer, before spam was a thing, I met on freaking MySpace. And I got on MySpace. I'm a singer. And 30 days, I had 28 songs. I went to the Improv, and instead of my brother, he's a comedian, instead of him putting up a comedian, he was like, my brother just got out of prison and he's gonna come sing a song. I sang a song. Ludacris was in the audience. He wanted to meet me, and he says, do you have any music? And I was like, actually, I have 28 songs that I recorded in the last 38 days. 2 months later, I had a $500,000 record deal with DTP Def Jam, writing songs, being in the studio with Chingy and 2 Chainz and Bobby Valentino and everything. But it didn't end up being the vibe that I wanted. So I left that label. And because I never put out an album, I never got paid. And so that's what sent me into the demise of, man, it seems like everything was taken away from me, but at least I got a car that I got with my advance money for my record deal.
Okay, so that's where I was trying to, you were on top of the world and you were in videos, people knew you from modeling, and it looked like you had a lot of money because you're in these videos. And I think even today's culture, when you see someone on TV or in a video with someone like Lil Baby, people just assume they're millionaires and their life is perfect. And they have every possible partnership they want. But in some cases, it's totally different. So you were living this life of luxury in a sense from the screen, but behind the scenes, you were broke, struggling, stressed in a car.
It was all fake so that I could fit in with whatever people thought was popular. And I cannot tell you, being behind the scenes, how many broke artists there are.
For sure.
There's a lot of artists that don't make money unless you produce your own records, you're writing your own records, you do your own deals. But if you're signing to a major and you're getting 1 cent off the album, but then you got to pay back all the money that the $250,000 for your you got to pay back your signing bonus, you got to pay back your music video and everything. So most artists are in the red. Even if they sold like 2 million records, if they're getting 1 penny off of every deal. So I saw how corrupted the entertainment industry it was by being close to some of your favorite artists. And I said, whatever is going on in this industry, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be a part of it. And that's when I left the industry. I had written a song for a platinum selling R&B artist. He didn't give me credit. And I'm not going to name his name, but when I didn't get credit, I was like, man, F all these weirdos and all these people in this industry. I'm not paying the price this way. I know there's something out there for me. There's gotta be. I can't have this talent and I'm seeing people that are less talented do way better than me. There's gotta be something. And I remember saying that. But then that's when the depression kicked in. And that's when, I couldn't figure life out and it was difficult and life got faster, but I was still not making any money. And then it's like your car gets repoed, your girlfriend leaves you. And that's why during that time, that's what leads us to 2011 when I was screaming and crying, saying, okay, because I couldn't figure it out. That's what led me that whole thing. So my life was up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And I'm just like, yo, I'm tired. I'm so tired of living a life being what everybody else wants me to be. My mom, my dad, my grandmother, society, my specific culture, being Black, being this, having mixed race all of it is like, you've got to be this in order to be down with us. Well, listen, hold on. I've been giving everybody my power. Maybe it's the opportunity to me to give to myself so everybody else can benefit from my overflow. That's when things started to shift because I started asking different questions. And I'm like, maybe I'm meant to do something else. Maybe it's not the music. I don't know. So I just sat down one day at Starbucks and I wrote down 10 things that I love to do and then 10 things that I'm really good at. And I said, I'm going to go on Craigslist and I'm just going to write this stuff. I'm going to go find ways to make money doing what I absolutely love to do, whatever that is. I love motivating people. I love singing. I love dancing. I love exercising, those things. So I ended up finding being a part of a health and wellness company. That's what introduced me to, and that was the new community. So remember when we were talking about community and I did what they did? My next community was health and wellness. I was 40 pounds overweight. So guess what? I lost 35 pounds, put on 19 pounds of muscle at age 32, took my body fat from 16.4% down to 6%. Wow. They were doing personal development. They were talking about goals and making a difference in their lives and retiring their mom. And I'm like, damn, people can do that. I stayed in the community. So guess what? I started making money, helping people get healthy. I started reading books and doing personal development. And because I was in this entrepreneurial sphere, I was learning all this business stuff and learning everything. And I really took to personal growth and personal development and emotional intelligence. And the more and more I was growing as a person, the more the different kind of caliber of people I was attracting, the more money I was making. And it's not growth pertains to money, but growth opens up the door for more money to come in and you can actually hold it and not lose it.
So depression to the tipping point was elevating who you were around. That was really the tipping point, which is amazing. So the legit business that you were very proud of was now the health and wellness space. That's when you saw money, you saw a community of people, you were making money in a way that you were proud. Is that the first time really?
Every dollar I made, it was fulfilling. And I knew I was doing something good in the world. And it took this one lady named Heather, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. And this is where everything started. She said, "Thank you for how much you're inspiring everybody around here." And I was like, I can inspire people? Yeah. Now, mind you, it's not the person that you see today. It was the person that was $200,000 in debt, still living in his car, drowning in life circumstances. And with her tears, "Thank you for how much you're inspiring people." So if you tell a little kid when he's running fast, "Great job, Johnny," what does he do? Run faster. So I studied more. I learned more. I really dove into personal growth. And, I built my business up so much so that they started flying me to all over the world, wanting to learn how I led and cultivated powerful leaders. So lots of people that are successful, but everybody else around them is broke. But something was happening with me where I was leading people and the people around me were making money. So it was like the Pied Piper for business, where other people were coming into a specific structure and container and a leadership structure, and they were developing as humans and developing their business simultaneously. I didn't know that I could turn this into a product until 7 years later, after I'd already become a multimillionaire and retired my mom and all these different things. I'm like, man, what would it be like if I went public and see if I can use this out in the world and learn about putting products out there and inspiring people and motivating people and turn that into something. I mean, I got a business background. I got a health and wellness background. I have a personal growth background. I'm like, maybe there's something here. The second I said, my mission is to inspire humanity, I said, well, I no longer am going to live at what someone else asked me to do. I'm no longer going to do that. And I decided to tell the truth, the absolute truth. Some people are afraid of vulnerability and they say vulnerability is weak. Well, I got tired of living a lie. And I say, you think you know me? You have no idea. And this is what led to me making all this money. So I'm kind of going back a little bit. And I went and I wrote a letter from my big self to my little self, apologizing to little Garrain for abandoning him. And then I switched to my non-dominant hand and I wrote a letter from my little self, from little Garrain to big Garrain. And I didn't realize how many suppressed emotions and resentment that I had towards myself for leaving myself. And my little self was so angry. You left me. I'm so pissed off. And then when I did that, I went on Facebook and I wrote a post, the most vulnerable post I ever did. You think you know me, you have no idea. You know this, and this. But what you don't know is I've cheated on every girlfriend I ever had. You don't know that I'm sleeping in an abandoned building, in a storage unit, and in my car. This is what led to all these people coming in. The first message I got from being radically vulnerable was from someone said, how did you have the strength to tell the truth? After I read your testimony, I put the gun down. Really want you to think about what I shared. I was afraid of being myself. And in being my authentic self, it saved a life. 5 messages later, I didn't drive my car off a bridge when I read your testimony. Thank you. Keep sharing. So I realized my role and purpose in this world is to be the voice of the voiceless, or to speak to the part of you that you haven't yet given a voice. And that ended up being a business. I wasn't trying to make it a business. It ended up being something I would absolutely do for free. So since then, I've traveled to over 75 countries all over the world, put out an independent book with no paid ads. It's sold over 125,000 copies. Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. And then turn into another company called Artist Power. The artist is the little kid inside before life stripped everything away from you. And when you tap into that energy, I know how to teach you how to tap into that energy. It unlocks a power. Turn that into a 7-figure company in 6.5 months. And it's because I have the deep passion to believe and connect with humans and create and cultivate safe environments. When you have a safe environment and people know that there's a safe space to truly be themselves and formula to continue to harness their gifts, they will come running all day long.
That's huge, man. I hope you guys are really conceptualizing the power of this, because it's very easy to judge from afar and say, man, it's so, how does he make millions though? He's just passionate. You're seeing it right here. How? The money's not first. His authentic self and passion and bringing out vulnerability from people is the first step. Let me ask you this. I'm really curious how you were able to not let the old Garrain or your old habits or your old mentality or your old beliefs come and steal your present success. When you started making money and more money and more money, how did the old Garrain not mess that up?
Well, you know, all the rises and falls, the rises and falls came because I thought I could do everything by myself. And there's a difference between Allen Iverson and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan with a team.
Hey, don't say too much about Iverson. Just kidding.
Yeah, but he never got the rings that he wanted.
Yep.
He was one of the greatest scorers of all time. And there's a team element.
Yep.
I never understood the team element. It is I. So the rises and falls became because I didn't have the mentorship. I didn't have the accountability. Wasn't surrounded by a healthy team, people that'll hold me high. Now, the difference in why I never went back is because of my community. You will rise and fall to the level of the people that you hang around with the most. But if the people that you hang around with the most are continually growing, are continually reading, are continually striving, they're supporting each other's weaknesses while all ships rise together. I have a knack for creating and cultivating deep community because that's what I came in, supported me in saving my life. So Artist Power, in any business that I'm a part of, like there's companies right now that pay me $100,000 to come into their company and create and shape the community and like really create a winning environment. Well, in order to create a winning continuous environment, you must know the identity of the people, the inner identity of the people. You must ask the questions and see how they function, and then create a vision, mission, values, one that they all energetically buy in. All of that was something I came into, and because I saw how much it transformed my life and continues to do that. Anyone that I work with, and I work with some of, this is somebody that sold their company for $500 million, people that come to me for one-on-ones, and some of the top level CEOs down to my Awaken the Artist Within retreats that are what, $3,000, $4,000. When somebody comes to me, my number one goal is, let's find you a community. Not like, let me work with you so you can keep paying me and paying me and paying. No, let me find you a community. Let's find accountability first and foremost. When we find that community, I know that you're going to grow through community, you're going to grow through the teachings, and you're going to grow from the tools that you develop yourself, because like most coaches, they're going to inspire you to want from them. I'm going to inspire you to want from yourself, and like literally be reminded of the gifts that's always been inside of you. That's the difference, and why I never went back, because I didn't keep people who go back, who continue to do all this stuff that I used to do. That's not my livelihood.
Do you see that happening now, even if you're paying attention, whether it's in entrepreneurship, entertainment? Do you see that where, because I've seen a lot of success stories and a lot of rags to riches, but I've also seen the opposite. And it's a lot of younger entrepreneurs where they do see massive success, but years later they're broke again, and sometimes can't get out of that depression. Do you see that being the reason why their old habits grab them?
That is one of the biggest reasons why they don't have the right people in their life.
Even if they make a ton of money.
Yeah, even, man, listen, money will amplify more of what you already are.
Yep.
And so if you're a shithead and then you come into money, you're going to be an amplified shithead. And I've, at my heart, in the core of me, I've always been a humble person. When I lost that humility, that's when I lost the money. So when I work with certain people, when I encounter, when I go to certain masterminds and I hear, oh man, I lost this business and I lost all of this stuff, and I'm always looking at the people around them. I always pay attention. Don't show me the powerful leader. Show me the people around them. And I pay attention to all of that stuff, because that will tell me a lot about you. Either you want your people to want you, or you want your people to seed you. I want anybody that I work with to succeed me. However, you're going to have to succeed me while I'm working and evolving and things like that. So for me, I see it all the time, and it's simply due to a lack of direction. Some people might be 1 degree off. And I met somebody the other day. They're like, man, it's like, I have $200 million, but Garrain, how do you do it? I don't have to. I have over $1 billion worth of wisdom, but I don't financially have the $200 million yet. But why are they seeking counsel? There might be something deeper. Maybe they didn't protect that little boy or that little girl inside. Maybe they worked so hard and work became their identity that they lost a sense of self. And so when their business gets cut, they feel like they get cut. No, you get to separate yourself from that and not have your work be your identity. You get to be your identity, and the overflow of you gets to benefit to your work. And so it's about course correcting and teaching people how to operate from nature as it was designed, and not outside of nature. And anything that's outside of nature always causes chaos.
So if someone's in a situation that you've been in the past, and they so drastically want to change, is there some self-reflection questions they can ask? Is there a reality set in of a place to start, in terms of like, okay, the best reality is to deal in what's happening right now, but is there any questions or any powerful exercises you can share with people to kind of start to get them know themselves better? Because I always say, what you don't know about yourself controls your life. And that's been so evident for me and people around me and people that I've mentored and family. And it's so true that if you don't know something about yourself, that could be controlling you. So is there anything that you start with?
Some of you may not like this, but this is the way to, I tell people, not shoot the shit. You know, I smile a lot, and if you look at my Instagram, I'm always dancing and having fun. But they say don't take life serious. No, you probably want to do that. You can have fun while taking life serious, but I'm just going straight to the deal. You know, I studied to be a samurai for 3 years, and my samurai master, anytime I'd ask him a question, he'd say, "Stop, breathe. You know what to do." Deep down inside, he'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know." If you're cheating on your wife, you know what to do. If you're cheating on your husband, you know what to do. If you can't let go of porn, you know what to do. If you can't stop eating the bacon double cheeseburger, you know what to do. If you're like money laundering and doing all these things, you know what to do. But I'll tell you this, find you somebody, and there is always somebody in your life where they're not a yes person. They're like, "Oh my God, you're so great." They tell it like it is. And ask them for feedback about how you show up. And tell them to be honest. And here's what I'm going to share with you guys. Feedback is just information that you can either do something with or not. I love feedback. Most people do. They have tried to avoid it and try to find the easy way to make themselves feel good. No, give me this shit. If I'm messing up, tell me. Because you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. So if you can see something that I can't see, that is the quickest way. Get somebody that can see your frame and how you're showing up in work, how you're showing up in your marriage, how you're showing up in business. And I was like, can you please, I don't call it feedback, I call it feed forward, so it can move the conversation forward. Can you please give me some feed forward on how I've been showing up in this business? On any product that I offer. I did a 12-week mastermind. Halfway in the mastermind, I literally put out a questionnaire. I'm like, how's it going for you? How's the guest speakers? If this were your mastermind, how would you do it different? Is there something that you wish were different about, you know, your facilitator, Garrain Jones? Like, how would you take this company from here? And they gave me so much gold. I didn't take any of that shit personally. I was like, what? You just accelerated my business so I don't have to pay the price for the next 5 years in literally one setting. So find somebody that will give you feedback. Okay? And here's the question to ask yourself. In the quiet of your prayers, in the quiet of your meditation, before you go to bed at night, because your last thoughts in your mind 5 minutes before you go to bed is what your subconscious mind is going to germinate with while you're sleeping. When you sleep, your mind goes to work. And set a powerful intention before you go to bed, okay? And just ask, what am I here to do? What's missing in my business? Show me what I'm here to do. And here's the thing, put a legal pad right next to your bed or a recorder. We wake up probably 5 or 6 times a night and you're just like, oh, it's too late, and you go back to sleep. If you ask a question, your mind is going to get to work on it. And if you wake up, however silly it sounds, oh my God, a pink elephant with Martian ears, write it down. Just write it down. And whatever wants to flow through, maybe the pink elephant with Martian ears just needed to be unclogged so the next thing wanted to come through. And this is where people miss it. They're like, oh, man, what was my dream about? So this is the way that you can tap into the non-physical world, which is where your dreams come from, your ideas, your creativity. So I'm just giving you a way to hack it so you don't have to, sometimes people take drugs to tap into that. It's like, wait till the five minutes right before you go to sleep, and you're like in between sleep and awake. And then ask yourself a question. You go to sleep, boom. As soon as you wake up, whatever's on your mind, write it down. So that right there, and then find somebody in your life who is shoot straight with you, and then ask them how you've been showing up, and ask them if you can, like once a month, make a written Like, yeah, but yeah, can I call you once a month and ask you your advice on how I've been showing up? And the third thing, accountability. Find you an accountability group. Find you somebody, something. I know he's the man. I know he's got something. If y'all are, it's like find you accountability. If you know other people, invite them into this community. And the more of you people that are inside of this community sharing truth and being on calls like this, after the call each other up. What'd you learn? Okay, what are you working on? Okay, what are you going to commit to? That right there are three things that can, within 90 days, can alter the course of your life faster than, man, you go and I'm going to school for 4 years so I can get this certificate. No, you were born with the certificate. You just got to remember that. So I'm only reminding you of what your soul already knows.
Whew. You said something in an interview, and I have a story of how it kind of transformed my life, but I know I'm seeing this a lot in culture. And one of my missions too is inspire and giving back and really helping people live their best life and not just be happier, but figure out their calling in a sense. You said something. You said, when people don't acknowledge themselves, they seek validation from others. And what you meant is, there was a girl that was interviewing you and you're like, tell me what you like about yourself. And she's like, oh my God, I feel so conceited. You're like, wait, what? You only asked her to say something she liked and she felt bad instantly. And I was like taken back. I was like, wow, people really don't want to be confident and tell themselves amazing things about themselves. And when you don't do that, you seek validation from everywhere else except you. And I remember writing stuff down, and I've done this. This was my 2017-18 game plan. I've done this since 12 or 13. And down here, it's like, I'm open to receive all life's riches. I'm becoming the best at what I do. Everything I touch turns to gold. I'm a leading authority, and all these things that sound cocky to the outside world. But as I was doing this more and more and becoming more pure, figuring out what was wrong with my childhood, who I am now, I started not to fear other people.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to live. So it gave me chills when I saw that. And I actually couldn't believe how her reaction, in a sense. Do you remember that interview?
I mean, that's happened to me so many times.
All you asked her to do, Garrain, was just say something she liked about herself. And she's like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah, so typically
that's wild.
When somebody has a visceral reaction like that, it's because internally they have been dogging themselves. I'm ugly. I'm not worthy. I don't this. So it threatens what they've actually been saying. She was like, oh, no, that sounds conceited. Yeah, because you've been dogging on yourself probably your whole life. Something happened and you just create, and whatever story you created from what impacted you, you just let that shape your life. And so I'm really huge on language, especially being somebody who had a speech impediment when I was in high school. You know, I had a learning disability, and what would normally take you 6 days to learn would take me 6 months to learn. And I just, instead of making it like, oh, I'm slow, I just turn it into efficient learning, so I just don't miss anything anymore. While everybody's like, oh, I got to come back and make up for this, I'm just like, boom, boom, boom. So language is very big for me. And when I'm hearing people talk about, they're like, you know, and I'll do these one-on-one conversations and they'll say, I'm stuck and I don't know what's going on. You know, I have a really good life and I have a really good job, but I'm just stuck. And, you know, I've just been so hard on myself. Geez, I'm just so stupid. And I'm like, hold on. She was like, so can you give me any advice? How about share everything that you just shared again, but from a more empowering narrative? What do you mean? If you said that you're stuck, how could you say something that would empower you not to say something like that, because you're going to further reinforce the same thing over and over and over? They're like, oh, I'm in flow. Right there. Feel what it feels like in your body to say, I'm in flow. She's like, oh, it feels different. Okay, change your language. Whatever you allow to come out of your mouth is what your thoughts have been festering. And the outside is the physical manifestation of what's been going on inside the brain. So maybe like literally start letting different words to come out. Lie to yourself. You're like, but I'm not a liar. No, you've been lying to yourself your whole life. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I'm not worthy. That is the world's greatest lie. Well, how could you say that? Because you beat out about a million sperm cells. You know the journey it took just for you to get here? There's so many souls that didn't even get a chance to come to life, and you're the one. So just by being born is the essence of a miracle. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. Who told you? Who told you that? Where did that come from? So what if you start telling yourself what you actually want to hear? It just feels fake. Yeah, because you've been telling yourself that lie your whole life. You want to know how I learned to speak fluent French? Well, first off, I was in prison for 2.5 years, but you want to know how I learned to speak another language? I immersed myself in the language. I can never unlearn English, but I can learn a new language. So what do? You immerse yourself in the practice. Immerse yourself in speaking different language. I am in flow every day of my life. I am a powerful force of love and freedom, inspiring greatness within myself and the world. Let that be your mantra. Whatever that is, but it's empowering you to think differently of yourself so it can pull you into the possibility of the future rather than recreate the negativity of the past and bring the weeds of your mind to come and overtake your beautiful garden.
I don't know if you're going to keep going and spit fire. I love it. So I want to be respectful of your time. I want to know, right now in your life, the non-negotiables, like the standards that you live by now. Obviously, they always are evolving and changing. What are the non-negotiables now in your life? By the way, guys, I would recommend checking out his book, following him, Garrain.Jones on IG, GarrainJones.com. Books on Is that the best place to get your book, by the way, Amazon?
Yeah, you can go to Amazon. Yep.
Perfect. So what are some non-negotiables that you just don't negotiate with yourself about, like morning routines, how you wake up? What are like your top 3 to 4 that you feel like could maybe bring some tangible results?
Every Sunday I have a love meeting with my wife. In this busy time where we're all working and things, it's easy to pass over family. And so every Sunday, it is a number one priority for us to take 30 minutes to an hour. And then we sit down and we go over this love meeting. And in the love meeting, we first compare our schedules. So there's no surprises. I have her schedule. She has my schedule. And that's one that we sit down and talk about. The next one is if we need support with anything. And I'll be like, baby, I'm getting ready to launch my next retreat. My next retreat is May 11th through the 15th. I need support with finding locations, and she'll be like, oh, I really need support with, just encouragement or something like that, because I haven't really been feeling your energy. The whole purpose of this is we're all in neutral. And this is how we, just like when an iPhone comes out and it says update, okay, you can either press update or you can press later. We don't press later on our relationship. So we update every single Sunday. So we check in and see how we can support one another. The third one we talk about is sex. How can we improve it? What do we want? What do we need? So if she wants me to go down on her and she expresses that, well, then that's what I'm going to do. If I want her to do the same or whatever, it's like, I really would love for you to flirt with me more this week. It's the opportunity to not have things build up. So we talk about our sex life, and then we talk about what we haven't talked about. Is there anything that you haven't talked about that you would like to bring to the surface so that we can talk about it? Baby, when you had loaned my book out to a friend without asking me, that really hurt my feelings. You know, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, babe. So we just really get an opportunity to create what hasn't been said, maybe a compliment or maybe something that really that made us sad for one another or whatever. This doesn't build up. We don't give it time to build up. So there's that. And then the last one is we compliment one another. It was like compliment for self, 3 compliments for myself, and 3 compliments for Blair. I typically like to find things she didn't know that I saw. Oh, I just wanted to acknowledge you because when I came home, you had food ready. You had called one of my friends. We got a pickleball court in our backyard. And then you had pickleball all set up. And I didn't even have to say anything to you. I felt so seen. Thank you so much, babe. You know what I'm saying? I want to acknowledge you for that. So that's literally our love meeting. That is that's one non-negotiable. Next non-negotiable, I wake up at 4:30 every single morning and I go and run. I go and run 5 to 10 miles and I breathe only through my nostrils. And what I do that for is that, you know, our life force is the breathing. It's the power inside, the force that keeps us alive. Well, I train my life force. People do breath work. I do breath training. So I put my breathing to extremes. So I'll wake up in the morning, 4:30 a.m., go straight out the door. And I'm taking every 3 steps. I breathe in, 3 steps, breathe out. It was difficult for me to do 1 mile. Now I've gotten it up to 10 miles. And as soon as I'm done, I have a cold plunge in our section in the backyard, and I go 36 degrees. The whole goal is not to cold plunge and all those other benefits, is to, if I can find that same pattern of breath, 2, 3, 2, 3. And then I go to the sauna, same pattern of breath. The reason why I do this, because most people they don't train their breath for extremes. So when the fight happens in the relationship, guess what the first thing that goes is? And then so goes, you literally don't have anything to go after. But because I train in extremes, I can always be at neutral. So things don't get to me because the dragons that protect my castle, you've got to get through the cold plunge mastery. You've got to get through the sauna mastery, the cycling mastery, the push-up mastery, the running mastery. And all of that is my level of life force training and breath. That is a non-negotiable, because in this crazy world, it's easy for somebody to get thrown off of course. I don't get thrown off of course because I create the course and I prepare myself for the course. I don't learn how to play the Super Bowl in the Super Bowl. I train for the Super Bowl, and when the Super Bowl comes, we win a ring every time. And this is a hack that if everyone out there, if you apply even one of those things, just running and you breathe, watch what happens 30 days from now, and watch how when world becomes fast, it'll start to become slow. And for any of my martial artists out there, I did martial arts for 15 years. You can throw a punch. Before you throw a punch, I can see the punch because of the instincts inside of me. Well, the instincts of life can be trained through your breath. So once you master and continue to cultivate the strengthening of your life force, you start seeing things long before they come, and the world just starts to slow down. So you feel like Neo in the Matrix.
You almost have a superpower in a sense. And I don't know if you guys know how hard it is to continue the same breath running in a cold plunge. I would almost say it's nearly impossible unless practiced. I'll get in a cold plunge, Garrain, and I'm just like at the beginning. Yeah. So it's really a trained mentality. And I think the best thing you can do in this new economy where there's a lot of volatility is don't have volatility with your own mentality and your own breathing. So I love that you shared that. That's huge.
Yeah, man, it's so good. And I want to say this again. If y'all don't get anything from this call, what I just shared about that breath practice, even if you were running for 1 minute and you're like 2, 3, you don't have to say 2, 3, but every 3 steps you're doing that, and you do that for 90 days. And I want you to just pay attention to the nuances in your life and how things that once seemed fast just start to slow down a little bit, because it's matching the tempo of nature. Because when you elongate your breath and then you put it to test and then you go back to the normal, now your breath is just more elongated. You'll also increase the possibility of your life, the longevity of your life.
They're calling you Jedi, so you are now Jedi.
Well, it's funny because people often compare me, like in my retreats and my masterminds. They're like, yo, you're like a mix between Tony Robbins and Harry Potter, but I'm way more Harry Potter, bro. Like if you come to my retreat, May 11th through the 15th, you'll be like, yo, this shit is like fucking Hogwarts, like for real. I'll just say there's the physical world and there's the non-physical world. My role is on the bridge between both worlds. And I just want to teach people who are ready, because not everybody's ready, who are ready to merge both worlds together. If you can alchemize both worlds, it will unlock another world. The other world. Well, now we're getting into, you had 400,000 ancestors who died just for you to be here. You don't think their DNA is not encoded inside of you? Oh, I can teach you how to learn from them and speak and get ancient ancestral secrets and techniques and all kind of stuff like that. I'm not going to say too much, but I'll tell you, I'll show you the door. And if you walk through the door, I'll show you the rest of the mansion in your own mind.
Garrain, thank you so much, man, for who you are and what you've been through, and sharing that with everybody else, using your story as a platform to inspire other people. It's admirable, man. Much respect to you, and much respect to you for not just being a world-class businessman, but a world-class husband and dad, and a world-class human being first. I'm very big, if you watch my stuff, on just being world-class in general, not just business, because we both know people that are worth 100 million, but they've never gone to any of their kids' basketball games. And for me, that's not world-class. World-class is being world-class in areas that matter most. Yeah. And you embody that.
Thank you, so brother. If you spot it, you got it. So if it's like hitting you that, I know it's because you're very similar.
I appreciate it, my man. Let me know if there's anything I could do for you. We're going to link everything below. I can't wait to get this out there. And from everybody on the Academy and everybody from the crew, thank you so much, man. We look forward to hopefully getting you on again soon, because we could probably go for hours, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm in. And I just want to say thank you, Peter. You know, it takes bravery to put yourself out there. And for having me on and having stories like mine to have wings, and having this, you know, esteemed group, whoever's on here right now. Peter is a dynamic human being. And I know you already know this, but if you lean in to his teachings and like really lean, he's not just saying this just because maybe you're paying him. No, he could get way more money than anything that you're investing right now. Lean all the way in. And the greatest way to say thank you to someone who's devoting their life to you is to change your life and be like, look what I did. That gives people like me and Peter, I mean, like, that's the high of the highs. So I just want to say thank you, Peter, and thank you everybody else for everything.
I would highly recommend following him. Check out his book. The fact that your book is independently done over 6 figures is 100,000 plus copies. It's amazing. It's on Amazon. Check out GarrainJones.com, Garrain.Jones on Instagram, and just get tapped in with him.